First off, though, what made you want to join the Air Force? And then, did you always want to fly C-17s or?
I was born into the Air Force.
Okay.
Strange enough, my father was actually stationed here at Nellis for his first assignment. He was in the aggressor squadrons. He flew F-16. So my family lived here and loved it here. And then I was born at MacDill. And so I was born into the Air Force knowing that this was my family. He actually passed away when I was a small child, around 3 years old. He was in Denmark and we were moving over there to do a NATO tour. And it just fluke house fire during that time.
Wow.
But that actually is a positive note in my life because I learned so much about what it means to be a part of the Air Force because his squadron mates became family for me. Mm-hmm. They are my uncles. They were there for high school, college graduation, UPT grad, weapons school graduation. They called in. Like, they were there throughout my entire life. And so even though I didn't have him in person in my life, his memory lived on. And so I always kind of knew I wanted to fly. My grandfather flew, my dad flew, but I knew I wanted to fly in the military, specifically in the Air Force, for that camaraderie, service before self, and just that family.
Oh, yeah.
So I started out wanting fighters. I think every person probably does. I had F-16 photos on my wall as a small child in F-22, and I still love those jets immensely. But it was in pilot training I kind of found like what best fit me as a person. And I am very much a people person. And it worked having the crew mentality. And they sent me for an extra penalty lap during pilot training. They vaped me. So it was the best, worst gift you can ever not ask for. But it was awesome. I stayed in Oklahoma for an extra 3 years and I got to teach. And during that time, it really kind of hit upon me like, hey, the C-17 is the aircraft that I wanted to do. It's for its mission set, for how the mentality is with the crew force, for the pilots that I met through it. It can do aeromedical evacuation. It can deliver bombs to places and forward deploy. It can do airdrop. So it was just a little bit of everything, and it fit me as a person. Mm-hmm. And so I was lucky enough to drop it once I was done being a FAPE and go up to McChord. And I spent the majority of my C-17 time up there, and I loved it.
So you're a McChord baby then.
Amen. Yeah. I love it. Charleston's great. Hickham's great. Alaska's great. Everywhere's great. But like, I love the mountains. I love the water. And it was awesome for my first C-17 assignment.
Yeah, that's definitely. And you know, obviously not nearly as much time as you, but I've been flown in and out of lots and lots of locations, everywhere from, you know, Afghanistan, Iraq, to random places in Africa, or just random places in San Diego during WISNT, you know, whatever. So there's a lot of that. Real quick though, because I don't want to skip it, because I wasn't tracking your childhood like that. And it's actually something that I don't think that we've mentioned really on the podcast, in terms of how whenever there is a death in the family or friends, how much of that community and that father or motherly role, whichever one they have, others kind of take that place.
So his very first squadron commander, he was in the Black Falcons here. His very first squadron commander was LD Johnston. And LD is my Uncle LD, as I call him. So I text him every time I'm in town. Hey, Uncle LD, I'm here. And he's like, I'll see you at the club.
Yeah.
He gave me my very first scotch. He taught me how to play crud. Like, that's a perfect example of a person who is not related by blood, but is someone who is my family and who I view as my family and has known me since before birth.
Yeah. And that will remain that way for the rest of your life. I mean, it's, you know, in a profession of arms, in a profession that we deal with this kind of stuff a lot, whether it's, you know, in training, in combat, or just life, that's a big, it's not a burden, but it's a big role to have to play. And it's awesome because you can expect that anywhere you go, regardless of the community, whether it's, you know, aviation, special operations, whatever, like that's going to carry for a long time. That's awesome. So, no, thanks for sharing that. That's cool. I wasn't tracking, not that I would know that anyway, but, so you graduated weapons school And which class were you in?
I was in 20 Alpha, so I was in the COVID class, as we like to. 20 Apocalypse is what my own class refers to it as. Everything went wrong during our time, especially because we were at McCord. So geographically separated, we started out Core 1 with possible war with Iran, literally talking about, are we going to get pulled? Are we not? We don't know. We went back, we had the fires in Australia, killer bees. McCord literally got a sinkhole in their runway.
I remember. Yep.
So we had that. That was fun. Our building caught on fire during a debrief one day. And you hear the fire alarms going off. You're a WUG. You don't care. You're like, neat.
They'll come and grab us.
Exactly. Somebody literally came in and was like, there is flames above your head on the roof. You need to leave. And of course, in true Up in School fashion, we just left, went to a different building, and continued our debrief. Right. So we had everything go wrong during 20 Apocalypse with COVID. But I think it made us very strong as a class because we learned how to geographically separate planning. So now when we look at ACE and we look at having to do hub and spoke mentality with that, we look at, okay, teleconferences, having to have minimal information and create a plan off of that. That's really what we were doing at that time because we would telecon in via VTC and get maybe a couple of words in for a couple of questions or have some RFIs answered. Mm-hmm. And then that was it. And so you went off of what you heard. And it was really good for geographically separated units to have to learn to do that. We would fly out for the full and literally fly back home. Not even debrief here, have to debrief online. So it made our class stronger in something that we didn't expect to have as a skill set. It would have been awesome to be here in Vegas during all the times, like with all the rest of the classes. But it was something that we learned and now is in our hip pocket as a strength.